Now, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is today expected to hold talks with the leadership of the National Super Alliance over its Adopt a Polling Station plan. Now, IEBC has held that it will be impractical to have 5 NASA agents in each polling station as much as it's understood NASA's concerns. NASA has been defiant about using its Adopt a Polling Station strategy in all of the 40,833 polling stations. Acting Interior CS Fred Matiang'i has warned that only officials accredited by the IEBC will be allowed at the polling stations. The meeting comes even as the Commission flies representatives of presidential candidates to Dubai to witness the printing of the presidential election ballot papers. All right, let me now link up with my colleague Patrick Amimo. Now, Patrick is following up on for us 2 events that are happening. One of it, of course, is that IEBC meeting between its officials and NASA. But the other thing he's also following up for us is another meeting by Fred Matiang'i with Diplomatic Corps. So, Patrick, we could start from that meeting that Matiang'i is having at Safari Park today. What really is the essence of it?
Thank you, Betty. The acting Interior Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, has this morning been meeting with members of the Diplomatic Corps together with those of foreign missions to brief them on the state of security preparedness ahead of the general elections that will be held on August 8th, only 12 days away. And members of the Diplomatic Corps are very keen to ensure to be told how the government is trying to ensure that the coming elections will be free, fair and also credible, so that every party that is participating in the election feels satisfied with the outcome. Apart from that, Dr. Matiang'i has briefed us about the entire meeting, which was held in closed doors, because he said there were some other homekeeping matters that he wanted to share with the diplomats before he could brief the media. And he just briefed us about a few minutes ago when he said that the diplomats are also maybe keen to know when it comes to the deployment of multi-agency security offices, how it will be done across the country. And he's also shared with them on how the Kenya Police, the Albanian Police, the GSU, members of the Kenya Forest Service, KWS, and also members of the NYS, how they'll be deployed across the country to man security in various parts of the country. Remember also IEBC, when it will be conducting its elections, it has about 40,900 polling stations across the country, and for each polling station, IEBC requires at least 2 police officers, depending on the intensity of the security needs of that particular polling station or area. And so the government, through the Ministry of Interior, is working with the IEBC to deploy the necessary security staff that will man those polling stations. And from the estimates we have is that the IEBC requires at least 120,000 officers from the security agencies to help it carry these elections across the country to man its polling stations. And this is the thing that this is a matter that the Interior Ministry has agreed to provide IEBC with these officers. The other issue also is to do with the deployment of the various other officers that will not be at the polling stations. They will be deployed across the country to ensure that there is also law and order, so that in as much as we are manning the polling stations, also the security outside the polling stations, they will be sure that they will be having officers to ensure that there is law and order. He's also tried to tell the members of the Diplomatic Corps with regard to the way the arrangements and where they can support. They have been supporting some of these areas to do with civic education. But one other question that we were keen to know from Dr. Fred Matiang'i is with regard to the travel advisories that have been issued by several missions across the country, warning its citizens to be careful in the country as we approach the general election. But Dr. Matiang'i did not answer us. He was not willing to answer that question, despite the fact that he met with members of the Diplomatic Corps. So he said he was rushing to some other meeting. He said he was very busy and did not want to engage the media on other questions apart from his meeting with the Diplomatic Corps. But then I think that matter of travel advisory would have been very, very ideal, maybe to ask from the Diplomatic Corps what they thought, why they were issuing the travel advisories. But that maybe I expect Dr. Matiang'i might give us an answer in a letter in the several meetings he told us he's going to attend, because he says he has a very, very busy day. day. The other issue that we wanted to know from him was his meeting, the promised meeting with the opposition with regard to its concerns that the government is planning to use the security agencies, say the police and the military, in the areas perceived to be NASA strongholds, to intimidate either to intimidate its supporters and or suppress the voter turnout in those areas. And that question also Dr. Matiang'i did not want to answer it, but he said that his ministry will ensure that it facilitates the process and IEBC does its work in a proper manner, because as according to him, he says the Ministry of Interior its work is to provide security, but for IEBC it's the one that conducts elections. Betty?
All right. Thank you very, very much, Patrick Amimo, for that detailed update of that. And we'll be coming back to you to discuss further about this meeting between IEBC and NASA. But